Frustrated that your child still refuses to cooperate?
Help is finally here. As parents, sometimes we feel like that frustrated feeling means that there's something wrong with our child. There may be nothing wrong with your child. There's a few adjustments that we can talk about that will help.
One of my favorite things to remember in this situation is that cooperation is not a requirement, it's an indicator.
We've talked about this a number of times here on the channel, that cooperation indicates what stage of moral development your kid is at. And that changes what you do as a parent.
Definitely.
The frustration that we often feel is because our kids are not cooperating.
Right.
That means they're on stage 1. And if you're not familiar yet with the stages of moral development, we've got other videos here on the channel that will help to illuminate what those are. The short version, at stage 1, selfish, self-centered, refusing to cooperate. And that's the indicator that they're on stage 1. This is not a problem. This is something you need to know. If they're cooperating, they're on stage 2, and we have a whole lot of other things that we can do as a parent.
Right.
So remember that it's an indicator. It's not a requirement.
So when you feel yourself having that frustrated feeling, I think the most important thing to do is step back and look at what your expectations are, right? Because that's the thing with frustration. If you're frustrated, it usually means you think it should have gone a different way. You expected your child to cooperate. You expected them to do this or to think this or to say that, right?
It's the expectation that, from a cognitive standpoint, is driving the feeling. And you're never wrong about how you feel.
But remember that within that expectation, sometimes there's that they didn't do it and they should have. So there's a judgment there. And that's part of what brings so much frustration. And it brings us back to a quote we read from a book a long, long time ago. Do you want to share that
The
with
Knight
us?
in Rusty Armor. Robert Allen is the author of this little book. It's a quick read. And the phrase had to do with when we accept rather than expect. Now those sound similar, but they are very different in meaning. When we accept rather than expect, we feel far less frustration. Brilliant.
Now, at first when he introduced this, I was like, wait, does that mean you just don't care? You don't do anything? You just ignore all the problems? But he used an example in his book about when we go on a picnic. Let's say we're going to go on Wednesday morning, right? And you wake up and there are clouds and it starts to rain and you expected it to be sunny and it isn't, so you are frustrated because it's ruining all your plans, right? But you think about a squirrel out there gathering nuts and they don't really expect it to be sunny or rainy. They just accept whatever the weather is and move on and make adjustments. And so that's kind of more of what we're saying. You accept what you're getting from your child, and if it's not cooperation, you accept that. And then you manage your own way of responding to that rather than just being frustrated that they're not doing what you expected them to.
Remember where we started. Cooperation is not a requirement. It's an indicator. It's kind of like looking out the window and seeing that storm clouds are gathering. It's an indicator.
Like, oh, it's a storm. Okay.
Oh, stormy day. I may want to change the way I dress. I may want to gather some other equipment. So we gather our resources. If your child is refusing to cooperate, they're on stage 1. So get your resources together to deal with stage 1. And just like the weather, it will pass. You already know that we all need help as parents. So what are you waiting for? Click that subscribe button because we're here on your team. And once you do, hit the little notification bell, and then you'll be notified every time we have new content for you as a parent. We've been referring to these stages, the way we fix the frustration. And I'm coming from 30 years of clinical experience as a psychologist. The way we fix the frustration is by understanding the stages of moral development so that we can start to accept rather than expect.
So really we need to remember that it's more about stage and not age.
Which is misleading because when our kids hit certain ages, we start to expect them to do things in a certain way.
Right.
Well, stage 1, remember, stage 1 is all about not cooperating, being very selfish. I wonder if an older teenager could handle that. Yes, and so can a 2-year-old.
Right.
How much maturity does it take to throw a tantrum?
Right.
So it's not about age, it's about stage.
Right.
And when your teenager is on stage 1, we don't expect them to cooperate.
Right.
And so we put measures in place to handle that appropriately.
And that will really help our frustration, because once we understand it's stage, not age, it just helps us know how to respond. And so we can go from this cooperation, we fix that, this lack of cooperation, by focusing on the consequences that we provide.
And that's why it's so important to
Right.
know what stage we're on. We're going to use consequences as parents all the time. But there are different kinds of consequences. And when our kids are on stage 1, remember, lack of cooperation is an indicator, not a
Right.
requirement. When they're on stage 1, we have to pick consequences that do not require cooperation.
And that's the hardest part, right?
But this is where the frustration
Right.
comes from. Oh, my kids won't cooperate with it. Yeah, they're on stage 1.
So you pick a consequence that doesn't require any cooperation.
Something you can enforce 100% whether they're on board or not. Because on stage 1,
They're not.
I said earlier, Vicki, that you're never wrong about how you feel. And that frustration can become an indicator to you that you're trying to control something that you don't have control over, or that you're expecting cooperation when you just don't have any.
Yeah.
One more thought about the emotions. The more we can detach emotionally from the outcomes, take the emotion out of the consequences, the more effective they're going to be. In essence, we're removing the emotion from the discipline so that we can focus on appropriate consequences.
And that gives us that forward movement into those appropriate consequences.
Right, and increases the likelihood that your child is going to choose to cooperate because things go better for them when they do. Hopefully you found that helpful, and if you did, you're ready for the next video. In that video, we will share 5 powerful secrets for teaching children responsibility. You'll want to watch that one next.